I decided to come to northern Minnesota to engage in the fight to stop Line 3, to act in solidarity with the Anishinaabe, Lakota, Nakota, and Dakota people in defending their homelands, their treaty lands.
We can't just say the name of the people whose land as a settler I'm living on. I need to actually be doing something.
I was exercising my rights as part of an action fighting Line 3, and Hubbard County Sheriffs, particularly Bill Schlag and Sheriff Cory Aukes, used what they call pain compliance and what I call torture.
He said, you know who I am and what they call me, so you know I'm capable of this. At that point I had no idea who he was. Subsequently I was shown pictures and clearly identified that it was Cory Aukes. He said, I'm not going to tell you exactly what I'm going to do, but it's going to be painful, and it's going to be increasingly painful until you disengage from what you're doing.
This was the very first approach that they took in trying to get us to leave. There were other tools available on site. I was the first person on the site that these tactics were used against, and my friends who were there could hear me screaming. And as I was pulled away from the site by the police, I could hear my friends screaming, being tortured.
I witnessed that person doing something to their head that I couldn't really tell what it was from where I was, but pinning them down and doing something that was causing them to scream, like really scream.
I said, are you going to break my bones? And he said, we're not going to touch your arm. I said, but you said it could get increasingly worse. And so could it lead to broken bones? And he said, yes, it could.
Sheriff Cory came over to me and began pressure point manipulation, starting with pressure on a point under my jawbone on the right side of my skull. And as my head twisted, it sort of was like pressed up against his body. My glasses were sort of smashed into my face. And then as he kept rubbing and putting pressure on this point, he added another hand and finger on a point right below, on my upper lip, right below my nose.
First he put me in a headlock, which tweaked my neck back. And then he proceeded to press his thumb into this hypoglossal nerve that's right behind your ear here. And he did this, and then he added pressing really hard with his fingers here and sort of moving them up and down and sideways.
He was like pushing that. It hurts to just go like this right now, I feel it. He was pushing that up, and it just felt like an intense burning, an intense fire on my face.
As somebody who has given birth, I was like, the level of pain was like beyond that.
As they were hurting my friend, Bill in particular would look at me and say like, you can stop this, to me, and like pressuring me to unclip so that they would stop hurting my friend.
I wasn't aware until I got home from jail and looked in a mirror that now this side of my face has experienced ongoing numbness and lack of muscle function. So when I smile, you can see that this side of my face doesn't lift, that when I try to close my eyes, this eye is no longer closing.
He moved my jaw, my jaw dislocated a little, and I still have a bruise over here. I think that's actually from that. And then and I told him while it was happening the whole time, I kept repeatedly telling him that, that my jaw was out, that it felt like he was breaking my nose. The cartilage inside my nose is completely messed up. I can't really sniffle. When I saw the doctor, I tried to explain what had been happening to me, and he was At first, relatively pretended like he was gonna take care of things, but informed me that I had Bell's palsy, that it could be temporary or it could be permanent, that this could be for the rest of my life.
And it's clear from this and from Hubbard County's previous actions that they are deeply spiteful and hate Indigenous peoples, water protectors, and are more than willing to work and dance for Enbridge.
The officers there that day wanted to make us feel afraid, to fear for our safety, for our life, so much that we lost our belief, lost our drive to protect this sacred land here. And they only did the opposite, which reinforced just how critical this work is.
Over 500 years of unending Indigenous resistance to this settler colonial project, to this violence you mentioned. You know, yeah, because a pipeline is violence to the land, and there's violence to enact that project. I felt so committed to and I feel so committed to supporting that leadership and being in this movement. And I think that they believe they can divide that, and they're wrong about that. You know, the most they can do is force me to stop in that moment. But overall, just deepens my commitment personally, and I think our collective commitment.
We all want a future where we can live on this planet. And what are you willing to put on the line to ensure that future?
We have always been and will continue to fight.
I would say to others watching to not let this intimidate anyone else as well, to let your outrage make you speak up, and that is a kind of love. And after going through something like that, all the water protectors who have experienced this violence need that love from the community, from everyone out there, to show that they are not alone.
Find that sense of bravery, because if we were all standing here in these moments, if there were 100 people there standing with us on 10 different sites on that day, they would not be able to do this. And that we really need to be all standing beside each other and behind the Indigenous leadership in this movement that has so much to teach us about how to really walk right on this earth and how to move forward in a world where we actually want to raise our children and live. And this farce of protection or of safety that is being taught to people like me, that this is what's safe, that this is taking care of me, is a lie. That it's a lie, and that if we all stood together, we could bring it down.